I tried recording this video a few different times now. A couple times were made the day this happened, and I was very angry about it, and I decided probably not a good idea to put that video out there. So I decided to cool off for a couple of days and make this to kind of contain everything into one video to explain it fully. The thing I'm talking about is indie crowdfund and what happened with one of my backers not receiving his book until technically he hasn't even received it yet properly. It hasn't even arrived in the mail yet, but it's going to in a couple of days. Excuse me. A little down with something, I think. But anyways, the backer in question is Hassan. And this guy backed my campaign. He was one of the 5 different people. Again, this was a small campaign, and he was one of the 5 people who did it. And the problem begins sort of back. I had to kind of go back to Indie Crowdfund. First of all, what is Indie Crowdfund? It's a crowdfunding campaign website that's run by Mike and Mindy Wheeler. They basically wanted to make their own version of Kickstarter, essentially, and that's what they've done. And I decided to use this platform, and only this platform, for my first crowdfunding campaign for Little Miss Steele, because of multiple reasons. 1, because it was brand new and I wanted to be part of something new. 2, because it was new, I knew there wasn't going to be a lot of traction on it. So on the odd chance that Little Miss Steele blows up and I get 1,000 backers on this thing, I'm not overwhelmed. I want my first crowdfunding campaign, even if it's small, to be successful. I don't want it to be overwhelming to me. So that's what I did. I went to any crowdfund because it was new and because it was small, and I wouldn't have to worry about that. It's small for 2 reasons. 1, it's new, and 2, it's run by the Wheelers, but I'll get back to that. 3, the other reason is because at the time, I was pretty friendly with the Wheelers. I had been doing draw streams with Mindy for months at that point. And Mike would pop in every now and then, and we would have good conversations and stuff. And it was fine. Everything was going pretty fine. And I enjoyed using Indie Crowdfund. There were some bugs. I knew there was going to be some bugs. I never made a big deal out of it. I never made any kind of public call-out post or anything like that about it. I always went straight to Mike or Mindy and talked to them about some issues I'm having. And a lot of it was self-inflicted. A lot of it was me not knowing entirely what I'm doing because, again, this is my first crowdfunding campaign where I'm fulfilling something. I did a GoFundMe for my brother back when his cancer diagnosis came in back in middle of 2023. But I was never fulfilling anything. I was just raising money for him to give to him. And this is different. This is actually me having to buy the packaging and do the shipping and all the stuff for the comics that people are ordering from me. So this was a good experience for me. I don't regret using this platform. I don't regret anything as far as the bugs or any of the stuff I had to deal with. All of that, very educational for me. It's something that I appreciate having the opportunity to do and to learn from. And one of these issues was people did not get the survey. Now, I can't even remember at this point, this may have been my problem, or this may have been the site's problem, but people did not get the survey to fill out their shipping address. So they were backing it, but they weren't getting the request to send me their shipping address. So I reached out to everyone personally through email to get their shipping addresses. And everyone gave them except for one guy, and that's Hassan. And I want to say this up front. I don't have any problem with Hassan. He did absolutely everything perfectly right in his position during this drama that takes place. I don't blame him at all for this. And everything that he does is totally fine from his perspective, because from his perspective, it looked like I was frauding him and I was not going to give him his comic that he paid for. When in reality, there was some bugs or potential just bad timing involved. So I sent out these requests for shipping addresses. Hassan never gets back with me. Now, he does message me on the 2nd of April, which I can go ahead and pull up, the pictures. Excuse me. This first screenshot here is me. Let me move the stuff. Yeah, there we go. Is me reaching out to Hassan on the April 2nd, asking for his shipping address. Now, the next image is the Indie Crowdfund messaging thing, which is where he messaged me first and said I wanted to know if the Little Miss Steel #1 comic books have shipped yet. And I told him that I placed the order for it. This was almost 4 months ago now. And excuse me, I don't know why my throat's like that. But this was almost 4 months ago at this point that he did this. He said, "Great, I'm looking forward to it." Awesome. Okay. So I sent him the shipping request on April 2nd. Never got a reply to that email. And I went back. I showed this image. I made sure that it was zoomed out, that you could see if there was any replies to the email, you would see it below. He never replied. And what ends up happening is months later, in July, he says, "Hello, I'm letting you know that I haven't received my Little Miss Steel #1 book yet." I guess he might have forgotten about it and just said, "Oh yeah, I never received that. What's up with that?" So he goes back on here and he tells me about this. And I said, "Yes, I sent you a request for your shipping address, but never got a reply." Hassan says, "Aw, snap, I think the shipping request that you sent was sent to my spam inbox because the message you sent right now is there. Can you email me another request and I'll send you the shipping address?" And I told him, I said, "No, why don't you just put it here in the message app that we know for sure works?" So he does exactly that. Of course, I've edited that out so that you can't see it. He sends me that and I say, "Thanks, I'll ship it Friday." He then says, after about, it seems like I think it's 18 days, says, "Hey, I want you to know that 2 weeks have passed and my package hasn't arrived yet." And then the next day he says, "Hello, I'm just here to say I've sent a refund request," and he wants the order to no longer be taking place. What doesn't get shown here is that the days where he was sending these messages, I was trying to reply. And what ends up happening is he had unsubscribed from emails on Indie Crowdfund. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this is set up, but the main idea is that he turned off his ability to receive email notifications that he received messages on Indie Crowdfund. And because of that, I have no way of messaging him. So I go back to the emails, but of course, I'm still ending up in spam. So the last screenshot here is another email saying, "Apologies, I tried to message you earlier to let you know there was a shipping delay, but Indie Crowdfund says you've unsubscribed from emails on the site. I saw your message about a refund. Your comic should arrive within the next 8 to 10 days. Now it's probably more like 5 to 6 days. Do you still want a refund?" And I did not get a reply for this for a few days, but since this whole debacle has taken place, Hassan has replied and said he no longer wants to refund now that he understands the situation. What was the shipping delay? The shipping delay is the comic that I had packaged for him had a chip in the top of the comic. Now, in the top of the cover. It's a small chip, but I decided, you know what? I'm just going to get a new one and package it, ship it that way, which that's the delay for the shipping. And the problem with this, like, you may ask, like, okay, why don't you just have one lying around that you could swap out? The problem is I sold out of all of them. At local events, I've sold out of pretty much all of my comics except for the new volume 1s that I have ordered. That does not include the limited covers, which are cover A, drawn by me, and cover C, drawn by One Gun. Now, you can order more on Ko-Fi right now. You can order some cover Cs and cover As right now on Ko-Fi. They are limited. But I do not have them just lying around in stock. And I basically had to get a new one and ship it to him. And that is the reason for the delay. Now, again, during this time, he is completely, like, unavailable to see my messages because my emails are ending up in spam and his message inbox on Indie Crowdfund is not working. So I have no way to communicate this. I think to myself, okay, well, it doesn't matter because he's going to receive his comic. I'm just not going to give him the refund because he's receiving the comic. It's actually, like, in process of going to his address. There's no need to give a refund. Even if I can't message him, he will eventually, after a couple of days, see this. Now, foolish me on my part, because what I should have done is I should have contacted Mike and said, hey, do you have any way to contact Hassan? Maybe you know him personally, or maybe you have his contact information some other way. I don't know. But I should have done that. And I'll admit that that's my mistake. I shouldn't have just let this just, exist and kind of ignore the problem and just assume that everything will work out. That's my fault. I should have contacted Mike about this. But what ends up happening is Hassan messages Mike Wheeler and says that his book hasn't arrived. And so Mike sends me a message. I'm not going to show the messages. I don't want to do that unless it absolutely becomes necessary for any situation. But Mike sends me a message with his new Twitter account, mind you. So this message didn't even appear in my inbox. It appeared in my request, which does not show up as a notification on the Twitter icon for messages. So this is a new account of his, which is why I didn't see that. But he sends me a message at 4:58 and says, "Why am I getting emails about you not fulfilling your comic?" And it's basically he copied and pasted the email listing and everything like that. I'm not going to show a DM unless it's absolutely necessary, like the DMs between me and Hassan here. But Mike reaches out to me at 4:58 p.m., and this is important, to show that this is a problem, right? Good on Mike. I think I can respect a guy reaching out to me and telling me that there is an issue that another customer is going on. And had I have seen this right away, maybe this would not have happened. But at 4:58 p.m., I am driving home, and I'm not checking my phone whenever I'm doing this. So, whenever I'm driving. So what ends up happening is 2 minutes pass, and Mike makes this post at 5 p.m. He gave me 2 minutes to respond to his message and went public with this on Twitter. And it's important to notice the wording here. Why have you not fulfilled your books on Indie Crowdfund EV Comics? I have your customers emailing me saying that you are ignoring them. Please fix that. One, this is not what you should do whenever you have people saying that their books haven't arrived. You should always message them first, which technically Mike did, but in my opinion, you should leave that message for 24 hours, and if there's no contact during those 24 hours, no reply, then make it public. I think it's fair to say you should have a day to respond before you go public with something like this. Because things like this potentially ruin the credibility of comic book creators or just anything. Anyone who tries to make anything. This can ruin their reputation. And I went on stream with Mike and Mindy explaining why this was a stupid decision, and they were just trying to play it off as just, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Just disprove it. Yeah, well, the problem is Comicsgate and the internet in general is full of people that will see one post and never do any actual digging into it and just believe whatever the person they're following is saying. So all of Mike's followers can see this and say, oh, this guy is defrauding his customers. Emphasis on the plural, because he says, not fulfilled your books, customers emailing me that you're ignoring them. It's one guy and one book. And he decides to make this sound infinitely worse than it actually is by phrasing it this way. Infinitely worse. Now, to his credit, Mike did say that this was a mistake. He did admit that this was, he should have done better with this on stream. He didn't outright apologize for it, I don't think, but he did acknowledge some wrongdoing. But he acknowledged that he talks like this about everything. If one person is complaining, he says people. If anyone's not fulfilling their books, he's going to make a public post about this. And yeah, look, I can understand if someone is actually not fulfilling their stuff and is actively taking people's money without ever giving a product, yeah, absolutely call them out. But always do your due diligence to find out the full story, because all he hears is from Hassan's perspective, which, yeah, from his perspective, it looks like I'm just ghosting him and then never giving him his book and just taking his money. So, of course, he's going to go to Mike. No shade at Hassan whatsoever. He did nothing wrong in this situation other than just not check his emails and messages and send me the shipping address, but that's on him. Nothing wrong with him at all. But Mike going public with this 2 minutes after sending me a message is insane. You do not do this. And so I reply with this post basically saying everything I'm saying in this video now. But I've got a few more things to say. First of all, thank you, Ruby King and Vivent, for getting on this. Vivent, awesome. Thank you so much for taking a picture of this. Because, one, that cover is awesome. And One Gun retweeted this as well. But, yeah, this is a really great thing to see. I really appreciate Vivent standing up for me and showing his copy that he received from backing my campaign. The two others might get involved. I don't know. The two others might do it as well, but we'll see. Or four others. Well, I guess the final person who backed it actually is Mike Wheeler. And Mike has also not sent me his shipping address. So Mike, if you're watching this, send me your shipping address and I'll send you your copy. But the bet making this post was very appreciated, is what I mean to say. It's very appreciated. And it's very nice to see this. It's very nice to see my comic in other people's hands. And people appreciating it and having my back. So, Ruby King says, why should anyone use any crowdfund when its owner does shit like this? Best to avoid the website altogether. Stick with Fund My Comic. Back me, bro, when it's available. Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Stupid Mike Lowell. I do not fully agree with this. I think Indie Crowdfund is a fine website. I don't think there's anything wrong with the website as itself. Sure, it's new and it's still got a few bugs here and there. But that's with anything, right? You have to give stuff a chance for it to get better. And I don't think Indie Crowdfund is a bad site. I did not have much negative to say about it. And the things I did have problems with, Mike was actively fixing as I was reporting it to him. What I will say is there's a couple of reasons why you might not want to use Indie Crowdfund. One, because Mike Wheeler is like this. Two, because the Wheelers have a still sort of negative perception in the comic scene, in this, Comicsgate scene. If you are on the Wheelers site, people might say that you're supporting the Wheelers, and they might boycott your product just because either they feel that you are a Wheeler supporter, or they don't trust the Wheelers with their money/information to do the backing. That's another reason. The other reason is, for better or worse, the Wheelers do smut. They do smut comics. And I don't have any problem with them doing that. I think that's fine. If they know their audience and they're successful at it, I don't throw any shade at them. Do it. Do whatever is making you money, as long as it's legal. It's always what I always add that little caveat at the end there, as long as it's legal. And it's not just smut comics. It's also offensive comics. Like, they will do things like Panzer Girl. And this has been something that's been talked about for a lot for Mike. He's been hyping up this comic for a while, and I don't like Panzer Girl. I don't like the smut comics. It's never been my thing. It's never been my favorite thing, right? I'm fine with, like, sexy women in comics, but for that to be the main appeal, it's not really what I'm looking for in a comic. I'm looking for a comic to be entertained. And so a lot of people will see the homepage of Indie Crowdfund and will basically say, like, oh, you know what? Maybe this site's not for me. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that I shared my campaign to on, like, social media that aren't from the CG space. A lot of friends and family and stuff that I shared the link to. And they might have looked at the homepage and said, this stuff is raunchy. I'm not putting my money on this site. And totally valid. It's another reason, I think, why you should consider using this site at all. And in my experience, definitely don't only use this site. You can use this site in something else, and I think that will be fine. It's not really a site that I think you can make all of your money in, right? I don't think you can count on this to make a lot of money by itself. I think this is a secondary option. And the only reason, again, that I used it as the primary and only crowdfunding thing is because I wanted something small to dip my toes in crowdfunding first. I would not recommend this if this is going to be your only source of crowdfunding. I would recommend doing it alongside other things. And the Wheelers have made it clear that it's fine if you do that. But unless they've said otherwise, I just haven't heard it. But for those reasons, I would say might not be a good idea to use indie crowdfund if you don't want your stuff to be besides smut, especially my book, which is family friendly. It just doesn't make sense for my book to be on there. Art style also might have something to do with it. People who are looking at the Wheelers comics might not be looking for a cartoony art style like mine. They might look at something more, maybe something more comparable to like Van Sciver or Shane Davis, but they might not be looking for mine. And for all of those reasons, I will not be using any crowdfund again, especially with this whole personal situation with Mike making this public when it did not need to be. If he had simply waited like 2 days to make this public, Hassan would have emailed me and said, "Oh, I didn't notice you got this. Sorry for not seeing the email. I don't want a refund. I can't wait for your comment to get here." And Mike would have never made this post, and none of this would have ever happened. But because he did this, that's kind of my final straw with indie crowdfund. I will not be using this any further, and I only recommend you use the site if your comic is more comparable to the content of what the Wheelers make with theirs, or if you're using it as a secondary option with something else like Back Me Bro, Fund My Comic, or Kickstarter, or Indiegogo, for your primary source of crowdfunding. That's basically, at the end of the day, that's all I've got to say. There's not really anything else I want to add to it. I've explained everything in detail about how things happened and the way things happened and the reason why things happened. And that's basically it. At the end of the day, I still wish Mike and Mindy the best. I want them to continue to do well in comics because clearly they found a niche. And, you know, as long as they're providing good quality to people, I don't have a problem with them doing their comics and stuff. I don't have a problem with any crowdfund as a service. I have a problem with Mike now on a personal level. But other than that, I'm not out here to hold grudges or anything like that. I'm just trying to move on from the situation. And whenever I launch Lock In as a crowdfunding campaign, it will just not be on any crowdfund. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for understanding. And thank you, Vabent and Ruby, for having my back with this. And thank you all for understanding the situation. The last thing I guess I'll touch on is you know, the quote-unquote doxing of Hassan's email, and I guess his name. I have to do this to show that the messages and emails are real, to verify that they are the real deal. Otherwise, people could just say, "Oh, well, you just said this to yourself," or whatever, and whatever. And this is just the only information that I showed was the information that is required. I will never dox anyone's address. I will never dox anyone's phone number. You will only see me ever do email correspondence or message correspondence with people in the event like this. This is a, hopefully, few and far between thing that is drama that is not going to be started by me. It's going to be started by outside sources like Mike. So, at the end of the day, I regret that I have to put that out there. I regret that I have to. But to show everything I need to show that this was not me defrauding customers, this was one misunderstanding between me and one customer. That's it. So, with all that being said, thanks for watching. Thanks for having my back. Thank you for understanding, guys. And Mike, send me your shipping address so I can send you your comic.